Imagine coming home. Sunlight streams through the window, coffee brewing in the kitchen, but something's wrong. The air feels thick, heavy. There's a coppery smell underneath. Then you see it. Walls spattered with blood, furniture thrown across the room, and on the floor, horrors that will haunt you forever. Loved ones silenced. This wasn't fiction. This was Cabin 28, Keddie Pines, California, April 12th, 1981. A real nightmare that shattered a quiet mountain community. Keddie was supposed to be a sanctuary, nestled in Northern California's wilderness, with towering pines promising peace and quiet. Glenna Sue Sharp brought her 5 children here for a fresh start, escaping troubles back east. Cabin 28 wasn't much, thin wooden walls against the wilderness, but it was their refuge, or so they believed. On the evening of April 11th, Sue was home. Her oldest daughter, 14-year-old Sheila, was sleeping at a neighbor's. Inside the cabin were 15-year-old John Sharp and his friend, 17-year-old Dana Wingate, who had returned late after hitchhiking. Sue's 12-year-old daughter, Tina, was likely watching TV. In another bedroom, Sue's younger sons, 10-year-old Rick and 5-year-old Greg, slept alongside their friend, 12-year-old Justin Smartt, who was staying over. 3 boys lost in dreams, unaware of the darkness gathering just beyond their door. Outside, the mountain stood silent, but inside Cabin 28, that silence was about to explode into unspeakable violence. The next morning, April 12th, Sheila Sharp walked home through the crisp mountain air. She pushed open the cabin door and stepped into hell. The living room was destroyed. Blood slicked the floor and stained the walls. Bound with electrical wire and medical tape lay her mother, Sue, her brother, John, his friend, Dana. They hadn't just been killed, they'd been savaged, stabbed repeatedly, bludgeoned with terrifying force. A knife nearby bent from the violence. A hammer had been used. Maybe other weapons too. It wasn't just murder, it was fury unleashed. Sheila screamed, stumbling backward, gasping for clean air. Then a new fear gripped her. Tina, where was her 12-year-old sister? She searched frantically, not among the dead, not hiding, just gone. Tina Sharp had vanished. Then Sheila noticed something else. The bedroom door where Rick, Greg, and Justin slept remained closed. Heart racing, she eased it open. Inside, 3 sleeping boys, untouched, unharmed, alive. How? How could such monstrous violence explode just feet away without waking them? How could 3 people be slaughtered, a 4th taken, while these children slept on? The questions began right there, layering mystery onto horror. Plumas County Sheriff's deputies arrived, their sirens swallowed by the vast woods. Officers swarmed the small resort, faces grim as they confronted the scene inside Cabin 28. The binding suggested control, the violence spoke of rage. But why? Robbery seemed unlikely. Little of value was missing. Was it personal? Against Sue? Against John? Why Dana? Why such savagery? The investigation began, but Keddie was isolated. The sheriff's department, facing a crime scene with 3 murders and an abduction, was overwhelmed. Critics later pointed to critical mistakes in those first hours. Was evidence contaminated? Lost forever? The handling of young Justin, who slept through it all, raised questions too. His accounts were crucial, yet potentially fragile. These early missteps would shadow the entire search for answers. Finding Tina became the desperate priority. Search teams combed the dense forests surrounding Keddie. Helicopters scanned the rugged landscape from above. Flyers with Tina's smiling face papered the county. Days became weeks. Weeks turned into months. The forest kept its secrets. Hope, already thin, began to fray. Was Tina alive somewhere? Or had she already met the same terrible fate? Not knowing was its own torture for the survivors. In small communities like Keddie, suspicion turns inward. Who knew the Sharps? Who might hold a grudge? 2 names quickly surfaced. Marty Smartt, the neighbor whose son Justin was asleep in the boys' room, and his friend, John Boubede, staying with the Smarts. Boubede wasn't local. He had organized crime connections, a violent past, maybe hiding out. Marty Smart's story troubled investigators. He denied seeing anything, yet left Keddie shortly after the murders. Why? And what about his relationship with Sue Sharp? Rumors spread that Sue had been helping Marty's wife, Marilyn, advising her about Marty's alleged abuse. Had Sue interfered once too often? Had that ignited Marty's rage? Later, under hypnosis, young Justin Smartt recalled seeing Sue arguing with Marty and another man that night. But hypnosis recovered memories are questionable, easily influenced, rarely admissible in court. Still, it planted doubt. Years later, accusations became more direct. A therapist came forward claiming Marty had confessed during sessions to killing Sue because she was meddling in his marriage. He denied killing the others. Confidentiality rules prevented direct testimony. Marty denied everything. Then Marilyn Smartt, Marty's wife, told investigators her own chilling story. That Marty and Bo were responsible. That they'd burned evidence, possibly a bloody hammer, in their wood stove. She even wrote a letter detailing these claims. Yet somehow, incredibly, it led nowhere. Boubede died in 1988. Marty Smartt in 2000. If they were the killers, they took their secrets to the grave. Neither man was ever charged. For 3 agonizing years, Tina Sharp remained missing. Then, in 1984, the discovery everyone dreaded. A bottle collector hiking near Feather Falls, miles away in another county, found human remains, just fragments, part of a skull, a jawbone. Dental records confirmed it was Tina. The last shred of hope extinguished. Her discovery answered one question but raised many more. Why take her? Why kill her miles away, long after the others? What horrors marked her final hours? What did she know that made her abduction necessary? Her remains deepened the mystery, adding calculated cruelty to the crime. Decades passed. The case file grew thick, gathering dust but never closing. For the surviving Sharp children and the Keddie community, the horror remained raw. Cabin 28 stood as a dark monument until finally torn down in 2004, erasing the structure but not the memory. Some cases refused to stay buried. In the 2010s, Sheriff Greg Hagwood, who'd lived nearby as a teen when the murders happened, reopened the investigation with new technology. Old evidence emerged from storage. Files were re-examined. Witnesses re-interviewed. They focused on that hammer, the one Marty Smartt reportedly lost around the time of the murders, found later, then strangely ignored for years. Could modern DNA testing link it to a specific person? Investigators publicly stated they believed they knew who was involved, strongly suggesting Smartt and Boubede, possibly with accomplices. But belief isn't proof. An indictment needs evidence beyond reasonable doubt. That final piece remains elusive. The strange behavior of the local law enforcement raised troubling questions that persist to this day. Why did the original investigation seem to stall at critical junctures? Why weren't potential suspects aggressively pursued? Rumors of corruption or cover-ups rippled through the community for years. Some pointed to Boubede's criminal connections. Could they have reached into local departments, applying invisible pressure? Others wondered if the isolated nature of Plumas County simply meant investigators were out of their depth with such a complex crime. Either way, the initial handling of the case left gaping holes that time has only widened. Perhaps most disturbing was the revelation in 2016, when Special Investigator Mike Gamberg discovered a recording of an anonymous call made to the Plumas County Sheriff's Office shortly after the murders. The caller claimed to know where Tina Sharp's remains were, 3 years before her body was actually found. The location described matched where her skull fragments would eventually be discovered. Was this the killer taunting authorities? Was it someone with inside knowledge who feared coming forward officially? The recording sat in evidence storage for decades, apparently never fully investigated at the time. Like so many threads in this case, it led to more questions rather than answers. Today, the Keddie Cabin murders remain officially unsolved. No arrests, no trial, no justice for Sue, John, Dana, and Tina. Just theories, whispers, and the chilling knowledge that unimaginable violence erupted in that small cabin, shattering lives and leaving questions that echo through time. Why such fury? Why spare the young boys? Was it planned or a sudden explosion of rage? Was Tina silenced because she witnessed the initial murders? Or was her abduction the plan all along? Was it just Smartt and Boubede, or were others involved? Did local connections protect the killers, as some suggest? Cabin 28 is gone, but the story persists. A terrifying reminder that darkness finds even the quietest places. 4 lives brutally ended, a family destroyed, killers who may have walked free among their neighbors. The Keddie ghosts still whisper in the pines, demanding answers that may never come. The silence that followed the screams on April 12th, 1981, has never truly been broken.